So I'm sorry it's in French. But you got Greta over here screaming, saying that her childhood was robbed. She got robbed of her childhood. Well, that was her choice. She didn't have to go around screaming around the planet for, things that were only partially true. You've got people who are working in collecting cobalt basically saying, sorry, Greta, we're sorry your childhood was ruined. We'll get to building your electric vehicle as soon as possible. Maybe this is politically incorrect to show, but it's the truth. The pits where cobalt is mined often have, 10,000 people in one pit. They're glued back to back. Apple, the cell phone companies don't want us to know this. The vehicle manufacturer companies don't want to know this. What I can say is, thank you, Ford, for trying to bring about batteries soon that don't use cobalt or nickel, or really reduce the cobalt and the nickel, and that you're really going to be focusing on having the batteries, the minerals, mined in Canada and the United States. That's good for national security, because if you forever in another major war, you don't want to be at war. And most of the African countries are going to side with China. That's just a fact. China has been pouring money into infrastructure, roads, schools, hospitals into Africa. They're buying out Africa. So obviously, it only makes sense if the African continent and African countries mostly would side with China. You don't want to be in a situation where, your machines of war have no capacity of, being built, because you just get cut off from the supply of what's needed to actually build them. It's just common sense. So Ford, thank you. Now, someone here very happy towing, and this is a good realistic expectation of what's going on with F-150, and they're thrilled. They're like, hey, what are they pulling here? They've got a gooseneck set up on the Lightning. They're running 54 kilowatts an hour. So at 125 kilometers, they used 43% of their battery. So their expected range is about 260 kilometers, so about 170 miles. If you want to Google 260 kilometers in miles, you Google search right in the bar, it's going to give you the answer immediately. Marie, could you check that out? I'm curious to see if it's 170 miles. If you've got a guess, put it in the comments section. But that is interesting, because that is a heavy horse trailer. And like my experience with the F-150 and 1,500 pounds in the bed, I only went down 2 inches. The truck was actually level. Now, this is obviously probably more than 1,500 pounds in the bed, because they are a little less than level. The nose is up just a little bit. If you want to just slide over.
Oops.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, honey. All right.
What was the number again? I don't have memory tonight.
260 kilometers in miles.
Perfect. It's about 161.
It's about how many?
161 miles.
So I was 9 miles off, so you've lost all respect for me. Do you think you can still raise a child with me?
Yeah, it's not that bad here. We didn't speak in miles anyway. You're fine.
Okay. And the drink test. Oh,
we won't see it in the
belly
camera
can
now.
almost hold the drink. So how to
much.
correctly produce plant-based meats. By the way, bone structure was better when we were a hunter-gatherer society than when we went over to agriculture, and now when we're going from agriculture to possibly in 10 to 15 years eating very little meat and mostly eating soy, tofu, and bugs. Well, I bet it won't be great we're not built for that, folks.